And you'll be surprised to know that there are a lot of officers who are there in the consulting space, who consult government, who consult corporates, who consult various entities, and they use their skills developed during the service and utilize those skills for finding very good careers for themselves. With that, I'll request Deepak sir to please come and share his wisdom. Gentlemen, can we applaud him, please?
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The speakers, as they said, are on face that side. So I can't hear that. Can you hear? But that is all right. First of all, we all should appreciate the kind of work that Captain Choudhary is putting in. I have been seeing him for some time, and I have participated in his event earlier in the past during COVID days when it was VC based, and a lot of officers are still in touch with me from that event, and in fact 3 of them have got some very good placement and are up and going on the corporate ladder in their own speed. So I would say that let us give a big hand to Captain Choudhary. It requires a lot of dedication, it requires a lot of time and thoughtfulness. Okay, Captain Choudhary had told me that it will be good that I come here at 1700 hours. So being Fauji, 1700 hours struck and I was here. Pleasant surprise. We almost had a house full. Promptness. That's one of the best and most important factor that we carry outside. No, promptness. I was very impressed with that. I was very happy with that. Keep that in mind, it matters. So when we leave Fauj, we continue to be on a 24-hour clock. It makes a difference in a meeting when you say, I want to be there at 17:10 and not 5:10 p.m. and be there at 17:10. Okay, it makes a difference. Let's step back a little. All those officers who are trying to make a career too in civilian sector, in corporate sector, where do they stand vis-a-vis their corporate counterparts? Older or younger, doesn't matter. Where do they stand? I have been here for 16 years and must have seen more than 50 officers making a transition. Let me tell you that you are already among the top 20% capabilities of them. Don't undersell yourself. Why? You are the guys who did the NDA, you are the guys who did the IMA, you are the guys who did the OTA, you are the guys who served the hardest service and all. You were as capable as the best of them at one point of time. It's just that at a point of time when you were 20-year-old, 24-year-old, 18-year-old, you chose a particular path and they chose another. They have traveled the distance and they were good, they reached somewhere. You have traveled another distance, you are equally good. You are just trying to find your place over here, which probably you would have found if you had chosen this path. You are good. A lot of them who are today cat's whiskers in corporate ladder did not qualify the NDA, they did appear. A lot of them did not qualify IMA, they did appear. And they are doing very well outside, very capable people. They are doing very well. So don't short sell yourself. कि मैं किसी नई जगह में जा रहा हूँ, what do I carry, मैं वहाँ चल पाऊँगा, नहीं चल पाऊँगा, what will happen? No, you are good and it will happen. It is just that you have to make the slight thing. So first of all, let us see what is the asset that you are carrying on board. I've made some notings. Promptness I mentioned, your bearing and your walk makes a difference. We have a different walk. And I'm going to do some very nitty-gritty things because these are the things that I've found have helped me and have helped a lot of officers. So your bearing and your walk, the way you talk, smile. Have you seen the way a defense personnel, the way a defender smiles is a little different than the other people. It immediately engages the person in front. That's an asset that you have. Okay. language, the command over language. I have seen senior manager, sometimes even assistant director level people struggling to write grammatically correct idiomatic English, which is something natural to you, all of you over here. None of you over here will ever struggle to write that. So your power of expression, both on paper. When I say paper, as he said, that is means on the keyboard, because your personal arm is your laptop, and even while speaking. So these are the assets that you carry, which are very important primary capabilities, and you can use them to straight away pitch yourself at a level where some very senior people outside are already there with long experience. Okay. One of the most important thing is our ability to learn new subject. So I was a sub-lieutenant, acting sub-lieutenant in those days. 3 months into service, and I was in a ship. I was called by the executive officer, who is the second in command, and said, "Young man, from tomorrow, you are the mess secretary. Go take over. You got 1 day." What all does mess secretary, being a mess secretary, involve? Besides the logistics part of it, खाना कहाँ से आएगा, कौन बनाएगा, कैसे बनेगा, कितने बजे लगेगा, मेन्यू बनेगा, etc., etc., very complicated things. It also requires double entry accounting system. It also requires quarterly audits. Try teaching that to a young corporate honcho. फिर जो सर फाइनेंस वाला बताएगा, मुझे तो पता नहीं है. There was no finance wala in my ship. I learned it. And in 2 months of time, I knew it all. I'll give you another example. After my leaving service, so I left my service and I joined PwC, and then they said that there is this job, and that those days Central Board of Excise and Customs, they are setting up an India-wide network, data center and application, which was not there earlier. Can you head that team? I said, sure, why not? I've never done something like that. I'd never done something. I said, sure, why not? Because I knew nobody knew it. And I'll always be ahead of the curve, learning curve. I knew that. As they are learning, I'm learning faster, and I would be heading that thing, I would remain at the head. That is where the confidence happens, brings you. And that is where the ability to learn fast gets you. So somewhere I was listening about GD officers. Don't worry. That's all behind you. Ahead of you is what you can do now, what you can learn now. And it will happen very fast. We are experts in it. Let there be a totally new job given to us. And in 3 months of time, we will be better at it than the people who have been practicing it for 15 years, 10 years, 20 years. Okay. The skill development, I'm currently working with Ministry of Skill Development. So there was this problem. You know, all these ITIs across the country, every year they used to conduct a CTS examination, and this examination result used to take 6 months to 9 months to come out. So somewhere down the line they asked PwC, and from PwC, I had just taken recuse from leadership and PNL, because I said I'm so close to my retirement, I am going to chuck my PNL and I'm going to only do leadership work and some strategy work. So I was putting over there, ye kar do. So the minister asked me, that time Mr. Pandey was the minister. कमांडर साहब, ये 9 महीने लग जाते हैं रिजल्ट निकलने में, और 9 महीने की इनकी प्रोडक्टिविटी जा रही है, ये गरीब बच्चे हैं, 9 महीने की इनकी सैलरी जा रही है, इसको हम क्या कर सकते हैं? मैंने जल्दी निकालना चाहिए, 20 दिन में, 25 दिन में, 1 महीने में, 1.5 महीने में. तो उसने नहीं, वो तो पॉसिबल नहीं है. मैंने कहा सर मुझे आप 3 महीने दीजिए, मैं बताता हूँ. सो आफ्टर 3 months I went up to him with a plan कि सर 15 days में रिजल्ट निकाल देंगे. I had not indulged in skill development earlier. And there is a skill development cadre in the government of India. People have been doing it for tens of years. I went there, 15 दिन में निकाल देंगे. And last year, we actually took out the result in 7 days flat. 20 lakh people, 20 lakh students. CBSE के 10 लाख होते हैं, ठीक है, और केवल 3 स्ट्रीम्स होती हैं. 20 lakh students, 180 streams of education, 15,000 ITIs, result in 7 days flat. Today, within a short time, we have reached a stage where people who have been practicing skill development for a very long time, कुछ पंगा होता है, कोई प्रॉब्लम होती है, जैसे कमांडर साहब से पूछो. This is what we carry. We are fast learners. We are very fast learners. And when you apply yourself, some of us ourselves don't know. So one of the officers who came through Vipul's network to me, and I got him into PwC, and I gave him a task. Got him into PwC as a manager, and I gave him a task. Sir, ये तो मैंने पहले कभी नहीं किया, मैंने तुम कर लोगे. Sir, कौन बताएगा? मैंने कहा, don't worry, you will learn on the job, you learn on the spot, and I am sure. और he says, नहीं sir, मैंने कहा, I know the capabilities. You go and do it. You will be very good. Just 2 महीने में you will be settled. And today he is a champion of his task. Okay. So that is something that you should take it to yourself. Trust your instincts. What have we learned in our defense? Trust your instincts. They are right. A lot of time, all I have done in 16 years is just packaged what I learned in the Navy or at the NDA, just packaged it in new vocabulary and served it, and it was received tremendously. Somewhere it was received like, oh boy, why didn't we think of it at some point of time? So trust your instincts. Whatever you have learned, it was a different environment. So use probably different vocabulary, different grammar to describe it. Bring it out. For example, all of us, we have been served in some headquarters, div headquarters, command headquarters, somewhere. Every day evening, the organization head knows how many people are there. His unit might be spread over 1/4 of the country, but he knows how many people are there, how many people are in the barracks, how many on leave, how many in hospital, who did what, कहीं कोई accident हुआ, कहीं कोई breakage हुआ, कहीं कोई knows ना, div commander, army commander, they get this information. How do they get it? From the section onwards, evening report starts turning. Platoon वाले को report आता, platoon वाला company को देता, company. It travels upward, and by evening it reaches. So when I was doing the Central Board of Excise and Customs, it was happening at 550 cities across the country at the same moment. And people were very scared. How will we track that? ऐसा कैसे होगा, क्या होगा, हम कैसे करेंगे? So I said, no problem, हम करेंगे. What I did was, same thing, yesterday same thing, evening report. So from every city, reports came to states, from states they came to region, and by 9 o'clock in the evening, the consolidated report across the country was on my inbox. And therefore, next day morning when I would go to the office, I would know what's happening in every city, what's happening everywhere, and they used to be amazed. ये बंदा जादूगर है क्या? इसको सबका पता है? कुछ पता नहीं है. It is just the army, navy technique जो हम कर रहे थे सारे टाइम. I have just applied it over here. वहाँ पर हम पर्ची लिख के भेजते थे. यहाँ मैंने Excel sheet बना दी, and that Excel sheet is traveling over the mail. Effectively, the same thing is happening. Do you see? Same thing is happening. Same thing is happening. Just the new language, a new cover. That's all. So take out in yourself what we have learned. The best processes are with the armed forces. The best methods are with the armed forces. Right from the time when we made a stage out of desks at NDA and did our annual squadron function. The best innovations are with the armed forces. So take that out and it will happen. One other topic that I wanted to tell was, and something to decide your line. I decide on your line and where you want to pitch yourself. The salary part was already mentioned. Where you want to pitch yourself was mentioned. I had a lieutenant colonel from army who came to me, and he was somebody who has been in touch with me for now 1.5 or 2 years. 2 years ago we did that. Since then he's been in touch with me. So he came, sir, मैं तैयारी कर रहा हूँ. अब मेरा टाइम जाने का टाइम, अब मेरा टाइम आ गया. I plan to leave around March next year. सर क्या तैयारी कर रहा हूँ? Sir, I love software. I love IT. So I have just finished my course in Python, and doing this, I find myself I can do very well in this and all. So I asked him, then why are you learning Python? You're very good at it, but do you know what a Python developer gets? Will that satisfy you? Is that the salary that you are looking for? So no, I am looking for. I told him what a Python developer gets outside. So he was kind of surprised. And then he said, "Nahi sir, पर मैं तो developing खुद तो करूँगा नहीं, मैं तो I will be the team leader." So I told him what the team leader gets. He was still not satisfied. I said, "But who will make you team leader? You have just done a Python development course. Do you know how to handle team? How will you convince him? You may know. You may be able to handle. How will you convince him that you know how to handle a team? Have you prepared something on that?" So slowly we talked and we talked and we talked about 2 hours, and then some things formed in his mind. Today he has changed his approach and he's preparing himself in a different way, because your preparation should be in tune with your aspirations. So choose your line. Also choose your positioning. In that line, where do you want to get positioned? Very rightly said that finance guys are the best paid today. And they get paid insane money, some of them. If you get into investment banking and if you're on the business end of investment banking, the money that you get is really insane. Okay, but how do you get into that? That's the question. So prepare yourself for that. Are you ready for that? So that's the question. CV has already been mentioned, so I will not mention. But I have had the occasion of some 8-page CVs worth. The guy did not get the job. 8 पन्ने का CV पढ़े आप. We might have done excel amount of things. But imagine like this: you enter a shop planning to buy tomatoes, and you ask, "Bhai, tomato hai tumhare paas?" And the guy gives you a 14-page letter of all the contents that he has got. Somewhere in between there is tomato. Definitely he has tomato. But are you going to read a 14-page content list to find if he has tomato or not? You go to the next shop. Now who's got tomato right up in front? Isn't it? The similar thing is with the corporate guy. He is looking for a particular thing. He's looking for a particular skill. He's looking for a particular type of person. He's got a JD out. Are you that guy? And what does a CV do? Let's say, राइफल में हर चीज का एक पर्टिकुलर काम है ना. साइट है वो खाली सेटिंग करेगी, साइट से गोली नहीं निकलती है. ठीक है. Similarly here, what does a CV do? A CV at the end of it cannot give you an appointment letter. Cannot get you. A CV can do only one thing, and that is get you an interview call. Just one thing. So prepare your CV very, very pointed, very, very intelligent to get that interview call. A CV is just the hook, nothing else. Just the hook. And there is nothing called your CV. This is my CV. There is nothing called that. You prepare a CV for a particular pitch, for a particular position. You have a CV for this job. You do not have your CV. You ask me, where is your CV? Give me. I don't have a CV. I'll prepare a CV based on what job you're looking for and if I'm interested in the job. I'll prepare a CV. Okay, I have a CV somewhere in my laptop background which has got a lot of things, which is probably 6, 7, 8 pages, but nobody sees that except me. So there's nothing called my CV. This is my CV. No, there's nothing called that. CV is always in response to a JD. So do something for the CV. It has already been, there is, in my 16 years of life, I must have helped at least 30 Faujis find some placement somewhere, and about similar number of Fauji kids. I was something like, I don't have to know you, I don't have to do this. You just have to come and tell me, sir, I'm Major so-and-so, or somebody is coming, sir, I'm son of Colonel so-and-so, or daughter of Wing Commander so-and-so. That was enough for me to try and work. But there are equal amount of people whom I could not help. There were equal amount of people, because if you are doing things, then the number of cases that come to you also is that much more. There are equal amount of people whom I could not help. So at this point, I would like to make one thing, convey one thing to you. Don't be bitter if an ex-serviceman cannot help you or does not help you. And there is a reason why I am saying that. A lot of people have come up to me and they were full of resentment against this one or that CEO or this CEO. A lot of different people are very successful. They may or may not be able to help you for various reasons. Sometimes maybe he is not able to understand your aspirations. Maybe he doesn't have an opening where your aspirations can match. Sometimes maybe himself is in a precarious position and doesn't want to risk, this kind of thing. We don't know his full story. There are some cases where he doesn't want to do it also. It's all right. It is not his obligation. It is not his primary duty to help us. Okay, don't be bitter about it. It is all right. There will be somebody else, or you may not need anybody's help. You might just make your own career your own way. आजकल के ज़माने में तो बहुत सारे लोग हैं. When I left in 2006, there were not so many people around, and there were hardly any help available. We were all going through that. Last point. There is one word that you all should understand and take action. Liminality. What is liminality? When the past is no longer relevant and future is not very clear, the position you are in is liminality. Liminality breeds uncertainty. Liminality breeds anxiety. And this happens to the best of us in this period. It happens to the best of us. अब क्या होगा? अब क्या करेंगे? हम बड़े कॉन्फिडेंस से निकलते हैं. But as the day comes nearer, sometimes think you may not get an appointment letter before your last working day. It's all right. Remember one thing, that you are as good as the top 20% of the corporate cadre. I go back to my first point. Whenever the liminality tries to surround you, don't let it. Go to a mirror and say, I am the same guy who would have been in the top 20% successful people out here in corporate if I would have come here. I have the same capability. I have the same skills. It's just a matter of time where I find my level again. Do not let liminality, and it will happen. So do not take liminality, take a grip on you. Liminality does two things. Fills you up with bitterness, because of which sometimes you say some unguarded words which might spoil an opportunity. Okay. Liminality also forces you to make compromises to accept suboptimal solutions. Okay. So do not let liminality take charge of you. Liminality comes, keep it at bay. remembering that you are the guy, you beat competitions, you have stayed, you have done the toughest service in the world, you've been in the most professional army in the world, armed forces in the world, and you are going to do well. There is no doubt about it. मैं अपने लिए कुछ ना कुछ अच्छा तो कर ही लूँगा. Keep that in mind. With that, I think I'll wait for questions.
Yes, sir. One of the youngest officers who is attending the session.
Hi, sir. I'm Second Commander Zishan. I retired in May 2023. So, sir, my question is, if somebody is planning to
Rise and shine, Ishan.
come again, sir. Okay. Sir, my question is, if somebody wants to switch his career to consulting, right? So there are not many options for G. What are your suggestions and what are your list of organizations we can apply to?
Okay. See, consulting is a very, very vast subject. So first of all, you must decide where in consulting. Okay. We just heard about risk management. Now, risk management itself is a huge subject. There are 4 or 5 very, very specialized verticals within risk management itself. Security, IT security, business risk, financial risk. They are all individually specialized verticals. Okay, now risk management is one of the consulting verticals. Okay, there are 10 like that. There are 10 like that. So you have to decide which one. So what I'll suggest if you want to do, one is go through the website of 5 or 6 companies. No, PricewaterhouseCoopers, KPMG, Ernst & Young, Deloitte, McKinsey, then GT, Grant Thornton. Okay, so go through these. Find out their practices. What all each one, see, a consulting firm runs within practices. So consulting firm is like, so okay, let me take again a smaller example because bigger example will confuse you. So I am right now setting up my own startup. It's about, I'm a very, very young startup. So I have got 4 lines of services within my startup. So I've got business management advisory, I've got IT advisory, I've got finance advisory, and I've got HC, human capital advisory. Within that, I have got practices. So IT advisory is a very large subject. Similarly, business management advisory is a very large subject. So there will be practices in that. So list them out, what each practice does. And once you have done this, find out which all attract you, which all lines of services, which all practices attract you, and then prepare yourself for that. That is the first part. That is if you have time for it. Okay, and it doesn't take very long. It just takes about a week or 2 to complete all this. Once you have decided on that, then you can catch up with somebody because you will be pitching up at a certain level. You will not be pitching up at a for rookie job. Okay, you will be pitching up at a certain level. Now that kind of job without any previous experience generally comes through some reference. So catch up with us guys. I just now told somebody said I want to go into IT security and I told ki catch up with me, I'll give you one telephone number to connect. Okay, now the telephone number to connect is basically the guy who is heading the practice for IT security, cyber security in PwC. Okay, so like that you get, so I'll give him a call, he will call, maybe they click together, and maybe there is one case solved. So this is how it happens at our level. If you want to get involved anywhere above manager, senior manager level, you want to get involved, and believe me, below that, not worth getting into consultancy, below that. Okay, you should come minimum at manager level and or senior manager level for the, lieutenant colonel retiree. Minimum I'm saying, it could be better than that. Consultancy also has a business development arm. So consultancies are 2 clear things. One is that delivering the service and business development. You may think of that, but we will have to have a little more involved discussion on it. If you are interested in the business development arm of the consultancy, then we will have to have a little more involved discussion on it. But if you want to enter the service delivery part of it, consultancy delivery part of it, first do this homework, decide which practice you would like to do, and then catch up with somebody and then take guidance. Yes.
Good evening, sir. I'm Deepak Gupta, sir. My compliment to you, sir, for using this word liminality and clearing the fog, because many of us don't understand what's going on. Sir, there's another important and very dirty topic which I want you to throw some light on, and that's corporate politics. One thing, it not let you inside, and the second thing, if you get inside, then it will not let you survive. We as Fauji's, we are a different breed altogether. We are not into that culture and don't follow those norms which are there in those things. So your advice on that, sir, or your thoughts on that, please, sir.
Okay, first thing first, upfront, corporate politics, yes, it exists. But it is not as all permeative as we in the Forge think. Okay, now there are two kinds of companies. Some companies are promoter-driven companies. Colloquially, we also call them Dala companies. Okay, and they can be very big. Reliance is a promoter-driven company, as big as that. Adani is a promoter-driven company, as big as that. And other companies are process-driven companies. For example, a PwC. जिससे कोई promoter ही नहीं है, कोई मालिक ही नहीं है, वो चल रही है और it's a body which runs based on its rules, and there are only current custodians. There is no permanent custodian, and those custodians retire. Like PwC, you might be a chairman. They tell you goodbye at 60. I just turned 60 on 31st of December and said goodbye. I said okay, fine. And then from outside they again re-engaged me. But the point is, there is no permanent holding. किसी के घर की जागीर नहीं है. वहाँ politics थोड़ी कम होती है. Promoter driven में ज़्यादा होती है, because obviously there is a promoter. He is there because of his birth. Some of them are very capable, like Mr. Mukesh Ambani. Some of them are not so capable, like the other person who comes from the same family. Okay, now the point is, when you face a person who is not so capable, he surrounds himself with somebody similar. He is threatened by somebody more smart than him. He is threatened. So that results. Similarly, even in process-driven companies, there are people who somehow climb to reach a position by some means, one thing or the other, and then they create a coterie around them. Doesn't matter. My 16 years of experience tells that there is always space to succeed in a straightforward, non-political, integrity-driven method. That's my 16 years of experience. And I have seen people with very shrewd political instinct succeed, fail, succeed and then fail. All kinds of examples are there. But then there is space for this also. You can choose to be apolitical. You can choose to be integrity driven. You can choose to be the way you are. Okay, but it should be true. It should be true, and then you are respected for it. If it is just for show, they see through it very, very fast. So कहीं जहाँ मौका लगा आपने अच्छे सी पुडिंग खा ली, और कहीं जहाँ मौका नहीं लगा वहाँ आप इंटीग्रल हो गए. वो यार मौकाटेरियन नहीं चलता है. ठीक है? Be true to yourself. I worked for 16 years. I found myself that initially बहुत early मुझे एक खबर लगी थी कि I am not very good at it. और वहाँ घुसूंगा तो मार खाऊंगा. वो उसकी कोर कॉम्पिटेंसी है, उसमें मत घुसो, उनको वही रहने दो। ये मेरी कॉम्पिटेंसी है, आई एम गोइंग टू बी दिस वे एंड इट वर्क्स। देयर इज स्पेस फॉर दैट, देयर इज स्कोप फॉर दैट। उनकी जीत से ईर्ष्या नहीं करो, अपनी जीत को सोचो, अपनी जीत को कंस्ट्रक्ट करो। दैट्स ऑल देयर इज टू इट।
I just like to add there, sir. Since this is a non-recorded session, and one of the reasons was that we could be candid, I think it's important for all Fauji's. I think everybody is. It's important for all Fauji's here to not take a very high moral ground. There is enough politics in the Fauj, and I think we all have come through the ranks, and there is the same politics that's outside. There is competition. And the corporate politics is the same competition that you see in the Fauj. So there is no point taking that high ground कि हम फौजी हैं, we are God's own, we have never seen politics, and we will not be able to survive. People will butcher us. It's not going to happen. We've already seen the politics. We have come through the same politics. It's the same politics. It's the competition to be better than your competitor, to be better than the manager who's sitting next to you, to get a higher pay. So I think not a new word. It's the same word. It's just that the name is different. That's it.
See, one thing that my predecessor said very rightly, and that is actually that thing you should take it as a mantra. His experience in the corporate sector is much bigger than mine, and therefore he has put the finger actually down on pulse. It's all about money, paisa banana. And if you are making money for the company, no matter what you are, you don't do politics, you do politics, you attend parties, you don't attend parties, this, that, whatever happens, you are going to succeed if you make money for the company. Okay, it all comes down to that. So that is the mantra: be of value, be of sellable value. If the company is giving me X, is the company making X plus by selling my services, by selling my skills, by selling my products? If that's the case, you are on. Nothing stopping you.
Thank you, Deepak sir. Thank you so much.